What if the loneliest place in the world is not a silent, empty room, but a table surrounded by the people who are supposed to know you best? Have you ever noticed the strange, quiet exhaustion that comes from being the one who always listens, the one who always understands, yet somehow remains completely unseen? You sit there, absorbing their stories, their frustrations, and their fears. You soften your voice so they feel safe. You make yourself small so they can take up space. And yet, when the conversation ends, there is a lingering emptiness. You realize that no one asked how you were doing. No one looked closely enough to see that you too are carrying a heavy load. If you have ever felt invisible in plain sight, exhausted by the weight of unreciprocated care, this is for you. Here is a truth that is painful to accept, yet deeply necessary for your peace. Most of your suffering in these moments does not come directly from being ignored. It comes from the expectation that the people close to you will eventually open their eyes. You are waiting for them to notice your quiet suffering. You are waiting for them to offer the same emotional shelter that you so freely give. But in Buddhist thought, much of our pain is born from attachment specifically, our attachment to how we believe others should behave. We suffer because we cling to an image of who they are supposed to be, the deeply attentive partner, the perfectly supportive parent, the endlessly compassionate friend. When they fail to meet this image, the gap between what we expect and what they offer becomes a space filled with deep resentment and sorrow. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that people can only meet you at their own level of awareness. Many people walk through life entirely consumed by the noise in their own minds. They are not intentionally ignoring you. They are simply trapped inside their own storm. Imagine a still, clear lake surrounded by a dense forest. When people walk up to the edge of the water, they do not look at the lake itself. They look down and see only their own reflection. They see their own face, their own worries, their own sky. The water holds their image perfectly. It absorbs the ripples they make, but they never actually see the depths of the water. This is what it feels like to be the emotional anchor for your family or friends. You are the lake. They come to you to feel seen, to reflect their own lives back to themselves, and you offer them that stillness. But you cannot expect a person who is only looking for their own reflection to suddenly dive into your depths. Think about your own life. How much energy are you spending trying to force people to look deeper? How many times have you carefully worded your struggles, hoping this will be the moment they finally understand? Ask yourself, is it possible that you are seeking water from a well that has always been dry? Pause, breathe. Observe this hurt without making it your identity. You do not have to stop loving them, but you do have to stop expecting them to be someone they are not. Letting go of this expectation does not mean you are giving up on the relationship. It simply means you are giving up the battle of trying to force someone to see you when they currently have their eyes closed. You are not invisible. You are simply asking for light in a room where the curtains are drawn. But realizing this brings us to an uncomfortable question. If they cannot truly see us, why do we continue to take on their burdens? And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of the emotional shock absorber. What if the very act of trying to keep the peace is what is quietly destroying yours? Here is a truth that is difficult to face. Being endlessly accommodating does not make you a saint. It simply leaves you exhausted. We often believe that to be a good person, a loving partner, or a loyal friend, we must absorb the impact of everyone else's emotions. When someone is angry, you stay quiet to balance the room. When they complain, you listen endlessly, thinking you are helping them empty their heavy hearts. You take their stress, their sharp words, and their chaotic energy, and you swallow it all down so that the relationship can survive. You become the human shock absorber, believing that if you just cushion the blow, no one else will get hurt. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound difference between holding space and absorbing poison. True compassion is walking alongside someone in the rain, not jumping into the floodwaters to drown with them. In Buddhist thought, the practice of equanimity, a balanced, steady mind, reminds us that we cannot bring peace to others by sacrificing our own inner stillness. We mistakenly think that by taking on their suffering, we are showing love. But this is not love. It is attachment. It is an attachment to fixing them, to managing their moods, and to controlling the emotional climate of the room. Imagine a soft sponge placed in a bowl of dark, muddy water. The sponge does not clean the water. It only becomes heavy, saturated, and stained with the mud. It loses its original lightness. It becomes too heavy to lift. Soon, it cannot offer clean water to anyone because it has completely absorbed the darkness around it. This is what happens to your mind when you silently endure the endless venting of a coworker, the subtle criticisms of a relative, or the constant, repeating crises of a friend. You think you are being a pillar of strength. You think you are holding everything together. But in reality, you are just absorbing their emotional mud. You leave these interactions feeling drained, heavy, and completely detached from your own joy. You are carrying a crushing weight that was never yours to pick up in the first place. Think about your own life. How many times have you ruined your own quiet evening because you absorbed the negative energy of someone else's bad day? How often do you walk away from a conversation feeling entirely depleted while the other person walks away feeling perfectly fine? Ask yourself, are you truly helping them grow, or are you just making it comfortable for them to remain exactly as they are? Is this habit bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your emotional exhaustion? Pause, breathe, do your part, then release the outcome. The next time someone brings you their emotional chaos, you do not have to reach out and catch it. Let their words fall quietly to the floor between you. You can witness their storm without letting their rain soak your clothes. You are allowed to care deeply for people without becoming a dumping ground for their unhealed pain. You do not need to fix what you did not break, because keeping the peace in a relationship should never require you to go to war with yourself. But stepping out of this heavy role requires us to face a very quiet, hidden wound. Why do we keep offering our deepest care to those who never return it? And this is where the next truth begins. 3. Seeking water from a dry well. Why do we keep returning to the same empty places, hoping that this time they will suddenly be full? Here is the truth few people want to face. You cannot explain your pain in a way that will make someone suddenly develop the capacity to understand it. We spend so much of our lives trying to translate our hearts for the people closest to us. When we feel unseen by a partner, a parent, or a lifelong friend, our first instinct is to try harder. We change our words. We write long messages. We wait for the perfect quiet moment to express how much we are hurting, hoping that this time, a light will switch on behind their eyes. We think that if we just find the right way to explain our sorrow, they will finally step up and offer the comfort we have been starving for. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound practice of seeing things exactly as they are, not as we wish them to be. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is that suffering arises from craving a reality that simply does not exist. We suffer not just because we are unsupported, but because we fiercely refuse to accept the emotional reality of the person standing in front of us. We cling to the hope of their potential rather than accepting their present limitations. Imagine a traveler walking through a vast, sun-baked landscape, deeply thirsty. In the distance, they see an old stone well. Relieved, they rush toward it, grab the heavy rope, and lower the wooden bucket into the darkness. But when they pull it back up, it scrapes against dry stone. The bucket is completely empty. Only dust falls from the bottom. Instead of accepting that the well is dry and moving forward to find a river, the traveler stays. They lower the bucket again. They yell into the well. They sit beside it and weep, wondering why the well is punishing them, wondering if they lowered the bucket the wrong way. But the well is not malicious. It is not holding water back out of spite. It is simply dry. This is what you do when you continuously seek deep emotional support from people who do not have it to give. You bring your heaviest truths to them, lowering your bucket into their depths, only to pull up dust. You feel entirely rejected. You feel like you are not worth comforting. But their inability to see you is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their capacity. Think about your own life. How much of your exhaustion comes from trying to force a dry well to yield water? How many times have you been left feeling abandoned simply because you went to the wrong place for shelter? Ask yourself, what are you still holding on to? Are you waiting for an apology that will never come? Are you waiting for a sudden awakening in someone who is perfectly comfortable living asleep? Pause, breathe. Observe the reality in front of you without fighting it. Stop trying to extract deep empathy from someone who only has the capacity for shallow waters. You do not have to be angry with the well. You can simply acknowledge what it is and stop going there when you are dying of thirst. You can step back. You can save your energy. But letting go of the demand to be understood leaves a space behind. How do you continue to exist alongside them without becoming bitter? And this is where the next truth begins. 4. The art of loving without absorbing. What if it is possible to stand in the middle of someone else's storm without getting wet? Here is a truth that can change the way you love forever. Compassion does not require you to bleed. We often confuse deep care with completely blurring the lines between someone else's pain and our own. When a parent is highly anxious, you feel you must tighten your own chest in solidarity. When a partner is angry at the world, you carry their heavy frustration on your own shoulders. You mistakenly believe that if you disconnect from their mood, if you choose to remain peaceful while they are upset, it is an act of coldness or betrayal. But in Buddhist thought, true compassion is entirely different. Buddhism reminds us that loving someone does not mean becoming entangled in their suffering. The practice of equanimity, a deep, unshakable emotional balance, teaches us that we can offer warmth to others without catching fire ourselves. You can observe their distress, you can offer a kind word, and you can be completely present, but you do not have to let their emotional state become your inner reality. Imagine a tall, ancient tree standing at the edge of a wild, rushing river. When the heavy rains come and the river swells, the water violently crashes against the trunk. The river is chaotic, muddy, and fast. But the tree does not try to stop the river. It does not bend down to fight the water, nor does it uproot itself to get swept away in the flood. It simply remains rooted deep in the earth. Its branches still offer shade. Its presence is steady. It lets the river be wild, while it remains entirely still. This is how you must learn to exist around the people who drain you. When a family member calls to complain endlessly about their life, or a friend spirals into negativity over a minor inconvenience, you do not have to jump into the river with them. You do not have to scramble to fix their mood just so you can feel safe again. You can be the tree. You can listen. You can nod. But you keep your roots planted firmly in your own peace. Think about your own life. How often do you mirror the anxiety or anger of the people in your home just to keep the connection intact? How much of your daily exhaustion comes from carrying emotions that were never yours to begin with? Ask yourself, what are you afraid will happen if you let go of their pain? Do you subconsciously believe that you are only valuable to them if you are suffering alongside them? Is this thought bringing you peace or feeding your fear? Pause, breathe. Let their feelings rise and fall without making them your identity. Let them be upset and allow yourself the radical freedom of remaining perfectly calm in the very same room. You are allowed to love them from a place of stillness, You do not have to drown to prove you care, because true compassion is a gift you give from a place of strength, not a tax you pay with your own peace. But to hold this kind of profound stillness, you must first learn how to draw a line in the sand. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The quiet power of compassionate boundaries. What if the kindest word you can ever speak to someone is sometimes a quiet no? Here is the truth about keeping the peace. If the peace in a relationship is maintained only because you are quietly breaking under the weight of it, it is not peace at all. It is simply silent surrender. We are often taught that setting limits is harsh, selfish, or unkind. When you finally reach your breaking point and step back, you feel an overwhelming wave of guilt. You believe that saying, "I cannot listen right now," or physically leaving a heavy conversation is an act of aggression against the people who are supposed to know you best. You fear that if you put up a wall, you will be abandoned. And so, out of fear, you leave the door to your mind wide open, letting anyone walk in with their muddy shoes to drop their heavy, chaotic burdens right in the center of your life. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us the practice of right action and loving kindness, and true loving kindness must always begin with yourself. In Buddhist thought, a boundary is not a fortress built out of anger or resentment. It is simply the conscious, mindful practice of non-attachment to the endless demands of others. You are choosing not to participate in a cycle of unnecessary suffering. You are quietly guarding your inner temple, recognizing that if your own light is entirely extinguished by the wind, you have no warmth left to offer the world. Imagine a sturdy wooden boat navigating across a vast, unpredictable ocean. For the boat to survive the rough water and travel safely, it must be deeply immersed in the ocean, yet it absolutely must not let the ocean inside. If the boat takes on the heavy water out of a misguided sense of openness, it will quickly sink to the bottom. The hull of the boat is not an insult to the sea. It does not hate the water. The hull is simply the necessary boundary that allows the boat to float. This is what a compassionate boundary looks like in your daily life. It is the ability to sit across from a demanding parent, an emotionally distant partner, or an exhausted friend, and refuse to let their heavy water into your boat. It is the quiet realization that you can listen for 10 minutes, but you do not have to listen for 2 hours. It is the strength to excuse yourself from a room when a conversation turns into an endless loop of negativity. It is protecting your energy without needing to announce it, fight about it, or defend your right to do it. Think about your own life. How many times have you willingly let your boat fill with water just to keep someone else from feeling uncomfortable? How often do you betray your own exhaustion just to be a good listener? Ask yourself, what are you afraid will happen if you finally say enough? Is this thought bringing you peace or feeding your fear of rejection? Pause, breathe, stop trying to be endlessly available. A boundary does not require a dramatic argument. Sometimes the most powerful boundary is just a silent, gentle shift in your own availability. Let them be angry if they must. You can love the ocean deeply without letting it sink you, because keeping the water out of your boat is the only way you will ever survive the journey. But even when you successfully protect your energy, your mind may still desperately ache for them, to finally see your perspective and validate your limits. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. Releasing the need to be understood. What if the final chain binding you to your pain is not their ignorance, but your relentless desire to change their mind? Here is the truth few people want to face. You can build the healthiest boundaries in the world, but if you are still waiting for their applause, you will remain entirely trapped. We spend so much of our lives exhausted by the act of explaining ourselves. When we feel unseen, our instinct is to argue our case. We draft long paragraphs in our minds while going about our day, We replay old arguments, desperately searching for the perfect combination of words that will finally make them drop their defenses, look us in the eye, and say, "I see you now. I understand. I am sorry." We falsely believe that our emotional healing cannot truly begin until they acknowledge our side of the story. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound danger of tying our inner peace to external validation. In Buddhist thought, the ego feeds on being right, on being acknowledged, and on being fully understood by the tribe. When we cling to the need for them to validate our boundaries or see our pain, we are handing the keys to our happiness directly to the people who have already shown they do not know how to unlock the door. We suffer not because we are misunderstood, but because we fiercely demand to be understood by someone incapable of it. Imagine a person standing in front of a heavy, locked iron door. They have a beautiful, important letter to deliver, and they are convinced that the person on the other side must read it. So they knock. They pound their fists against the cold iron. They shout until their voice is gone. They stand there for days, through the wind and the rain, entirely exhausted, waiting for the door to swing open. But the door has no handle on the outside, and the person inside is fast asleep. The deepest tragedy is not that the door is locked. The tragedy is that the person outside is wasting their entire life, refusing to turn around and walk away into the open field behind them. This is what you do when you over-explain your boundaries to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You waste your precious life pounding on an iron door. You justify your emotional distance. You try to convince them that you are a good person, that your silence is not an attack, that you are simply tired of absorbing the shock. But your peace does not require their permission. Your boundaries do not need their approval to be valid. Think about your own life. How much of your current frustration comes from the fact that they simply disagree with your version of the story? How often do you ruin your own quiet moments by arguing with a ghost in your mind? Ask yourself, are you willing to be the villain in their mind if it means you get to be at peace in your own? What are you afraid will happen if you simply let them be wrong about you? Pause, breathe, observe the desperate urge to explain without following it. Stop trying to force the door open. Let them misunderstand you. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. You can let them keep their version of the reality while you quietly pack up your piece and walk away. Because true freedom begins the exact moment you stop needing them to agree with you. But once you stop trying to convince them, a vast, quiet space opens up in your life. What do you do with the silence that follows? And this is where the next truth begins. 7. Giving yourself the presence you seek. What if the love you have been desperately waiting for has been sitting quietly inside your own chest this entire time? Here is the truth few people want to face. When we are starved for deep connection, we search for it in every face but our own. We spend our lives walking through the world hoping someone will read the quiet exhaustion in our eyes. We wait for a partner to notice we are overwhelmed. We wait for a parent to finally say they are proud. We wait for an old friend to ask the simple, genuine question, "How are you really doing?" We spend years acting as the emotional caretaker for everyone else, quietly believing that eventually the universe will balance the scales and someone will step up to take care of us. And when the room remains silent, the loneliness can feel entirely unbearable. But Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound practice of mindful presence, and specifically, directing that presence inward. In Buddhist thought, the deepest illusion is believing that we are fundamentally incomplete without external validation. We suffer because we outsource our own comfort. The teachings remind us that you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your own love and affection. True sanctuary is not a warm house someone else builds for you. It is a quiet space you must cultivate within your own mind. Imagine a single candle burning in a vast, dark, and quiet room, the candle does not burn just to warm the walls. It does not wait for a mirror to be placed in front of it before it decides to glow. It simply shines, offering its steady warmth to the empty space. If you are freezing in that room, you do not need to sit in the darkest corner and cry because no one has arrived to build a fire for you. You can simply walk over to the candle that is already lit. You can hold your hands out to its gentle warmth. You can sit in its light. This is what happens when you finally stop abandoning yourself. Instead of waiting for someone else to notice your heavy shoulders, you notice them yourself, and you give yourself the radical permission to rest. Instead of feeling crushed because the people closest to you ignored your sadness, you sit down with your own grief. You hold it gently. You stop treating yourself as an afterthought. You become the attentive listener you have always needed. Think about your own life. How many years have you spent waiting for someone else to give you permission to feel cared for? How often do you ignore your own deeply aching needs while rushing to bandage the minor wounds of the people around you? Ask yourself, are you willing to offer yourself the very same patience, the very same grace, and the very same deep listening that you offer so freely to others? Is this endless waiting bringing you peace, or is it feeding your sorrow? Pause. Breathe. Place a hand over your heart if you must. Let the feeling rise without waiting for an audience to validate it. Stop trying to extract comfort from people who are not looking at you. You do not need to be witnessed by others to be real. You do not need someone else to see your pain for it to be worthy of healing. You can become your own safe harbor. But once you finally turn inward and find your own warmth, how do you walk back out into the world and stand beside those who still do not see you? And this is where the final truth begins. 8. Returning to your own light. Think back to the heavy, quiet loneliness we spoke of in the very beginning. The feeling of sitting at a table surrounded by the people who are supposed to know you best. Feeling completely exhausted and entirely invisible in plain sight. When you first realized they could not truly see you, it felt like a deep betrayal. It felt like an unbearable, crushing weight. But now, as you walk through this gentle journey of letting go, the view from that very same table begins to subtly change. You no longer sit there as the heavy sponge, quietly absorbing the muddy water of their complaints, their fears, and their unhealed pain. You no longer sit there with an empty bucket, desperately trying to draw deep empathy from a completely dry well. You are still there. You can still offer a kind smile. You can still listen to their stories. You can still pass the food and love them for who they are. But the crushing, silent expectation is finally gone. You are loving them from a place of deep, unshakable equanimity. You have stopped trying to force the locked iron door open. You have stopped trying to translate your soul for those who do not speak your language. In Buddhist thought, true liberation is not always about physically escaping the people who do not understand you. Sometimes, it is simply about freeing your own mind from the exhausting demand that they must. You realize that you do not have to be their emotional shock absorber to be worthy of love. You do not have to abandon your own inner stillness to keep their peace intact. By releasing the desperate need to be seen by them, you suddenly make quiet, beautiful space to finally see yourself. Imagine that the sky has finally cleared after a long, exhausting, chaotic storm. The storm did not apologize for the chaos it caused. The heavy, rushing winds did not suddenly turn around and understand how violently they shook the branches. The rain simply ran its course and moved on. And yet, when the morning breaks, the forest stands peaceful, quiet, and deeply rooted in the damp earth. The trees do not hold on to the memory of the wind. They do not demand an explanation from the dark clouds. They do not wait for the weather to validate their strength. They simply bask in the warm, returning sunlight, entirely complete and unbroken, exactly as they are. This is your transformation. Let the people in your life be exactly who they are. Let them have their storms. Let them walk through life with their own level of awareness. You can stand tall at the edge of the rushing river without letting the violent water pull you under. Ask yourself, can you feel the quiet, beautiful lightness that comes from dropping a heavy weight you were never meant to carry? Think about the vast, peaceful energy you now have to rebuild your own joy, simply because you are no longer spending it trying to be visible to closed eyes. The journey of remaining respectful while protecting your peace is not a journey of building towering, angry walls. It is a journey of simply turning on the light inside your own quiet house. You are whole, you are seen, you are deeply understood by the only person whose understanding truly matters, you. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.